All right, we'll call this meeting to order for the Parks Board. We'll start with the roll call.
Linda Goldberg.
Kelly Whitaker.
Keith Cecil.
Rhonda Ankeny.
Roger Hibbs.
Very good. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. So our first item of business is the landscaping at Windish. And Bethany, you've done a little bit of research on that, and we have a guest with us as well. Did you guys have the opportunity to review the landscaping notes?
Yes. Mr. Powell is here to discuss that with you, as well as make any other suggestions or answer any questions that you have. So if you'd like to stand at the podium.
Sure, yeah.
And just give any information that you've got or
Yeah.
answer any questions, that would be great.
So with I was curious about those bushes.
Mhm.
It looks to me like they're dying. You think if we trim them back, they'll come back?
Are you referring
Which is
specifically to the
Switzer?
ones by the, I guess which bushes here as far as at Winsledge Park or which part?
Used by the parking lot.
Yeah, right there,
I
correct,
know
behind that
tonight
duplex.
there's 10 of them that's
There is, I mean, they're likely, not going to make it. It ultimately depends on what, you're looking to accomplish there. If you're looking just to kind of, hey, replace what's there, or you're looking for, something more, I don't want to say less maintenance, in the future. Certainly, I think if you're looking for something that's not going to, decay or die over time, because I mean, that is an area you get a lot of heat from parked cars there. I would say a lot of, issues caused by pets, kind of, et cetera, using the restroom in those areas, which is going to ultimately burn the plants up in there. So I mean, really what proposed there was just kind of replacing what's there, as far as, and not really, overhauling or doing anything drastic. Because again, it's, I don't want to propose something which is outlandish or out of budget, or, it just depends on what the goal is for that space. If it's, hey, we just want to be super cost effective, we're okay spending a couple $100 every couple years on plants, that's kind of, one outlook. Or, hey, let's do something there that is going to be ultimately more expensive, but, may require less maintenance in the future. So, but then that's basically here, that was just kind of yanking out what's dead and then putting in new ewes, which will take some time to kind of match up to the others, because they are going to be a little smaller than what's currently there, which is more mature plant material. So,
Do you know of a plant option that would be more durable for that location?
I think ultimately, if you're looking for the most durability, I mean, if that was my landscape bed, I mean, I would change it, make a little more shape, kind of do something there versus kind of that plain Jane kind of, long kind of oval. I think if you're looking for something that ultimately is, going to require the least maintenance long term, would be something, not having mulch there would be some kind of rock material. You could do some boulders or something. You could, even plant some flowers or some annuals in there. Because really, there's a high likelihood of, just because it's a public park, I mean, there's going to be some, expense needed every so often just to kind of, make the area look nicer, or repair something, maybe someone yanks something out of there, or a kid pulls some plants up, or so again, just depends on what is kind of budgeted each year, if there is a budget, or kind of on an ad hoc as needed basis. but I mean, certainly can. I mean, if I can, again, not trying to just, throw a lot of designs out there or ideas. If there's like, hey, like if something we're looking at spending or like $700, $750, or you say 100, I can kind of say like, this is what it would take, or this is what we can do. Cause again, it's like we can, create something extravagant. We can create something super basic. Just depends on what is, feasible, or the ultimate objective of that. And really, as far as like, I can talk more about the very large bed, which is on the, far end of kind of the walking path, or that, I would say just kind of over the years, and a lot of the perennials and stuff in there are spreading. It's just, for lack of better words, this is just basically coming in. There is a lot of concrete edging in there too, as far as the little bricks. So, pulling all of that up, disposing of that, and then, ripping out in a methodical manner a lot of the plant material that's in there, because there's a lot. So it's kind of, and even when people are out there, it's kind of, what's meant to be there, what's growing up. Maybe something was intentionally planted, maybe it wasn't, but there's just a lot of stuff in these beds. So, I think long-term wise, I mean, honestly, it probably even makes sense just to kind of get rid of a lot of those beds, put it back into turf, because those, there's a lot of mulch and a lot of area in those beds. I mean, basically, if you're looking at the, the inside edge of that bed is about 450, 500 lineal feet. So, I mean, that's a very, very big bed. A lot of mulch, again, that would reduce, it increase as far as expense getting it out of there and putting turf down, but it reduced kind of the necessary funds needed to kind of keep mulching it every year. So, and I think it would, tame that area too, because it is huge. So, but again, it's kind of what is, aesthetically the goal. Pretty much if you say, hey, I want it to look like this, or I want to accomplish this, we can kind of figure out a game plan. This is basically just kind of coming in and, cleaning it up and, ripping a lot of stuff out. But, we, like I said, I mean, we can, everything's fully customized. So it's kind of, without, putting together 5 or 6, 10 iterations on something, it's, I think, good to have the ultimate goal or the purpose in mind, and then from there execute upon that. So.
Does anyone recall why the pavers were used, why that layout was made?
Yes, that was done as an Eagle Scout project, and that Eagle Scout has since passed away. Back to his name on the curve on the curve there. That was his project.
So the pavers aren't there to stop erosion or anything like that?
I don't know, I think it was there partially to separate the walkway from the mulch bed, so they could walk in the mulch and also keep the mulch off the walkway.
But if we lower it, that would solve that.
Yeah. So, I mean, because really, what, kind of when looking at this and trying to how to, clean up the area, it was removing those edgers, because again, they're not, knocking as far as previous work, but not professionally installed. And then as far as you would need to remove some of the mulch and some of the soil to kind of, gradually push that back so you can kind of keep more of the mulch off of that walkway. Because it is built up pretty high, ergo that's, why there will be some mulch kind of running off there. And, it looks disheveled, of course, as those edgers are kind of all wonky and stuff now. So.
Now, what would you recommend to put down there around that edging?
I think, the most, at least immediate cost effective would just be, a trench earth edge. So really, we would be removing some of the mulch and soil there, and then just kind of using an edging machine or edger, which would kind of, create a new edge there. So there wouldn't be any physical edging besides of, like a 3-inch, 3 to 4 inch trench. I think if you're wanting an edger block, I would use, a bigger commercial grade concrete edger, which would be about they're 8 inches basically in height, so about 2 to 3 inches buried, and they stick up about 6 inches or so. That would create a sturdier edge, but again, that's an added expense. And again, it's like not trying to propose, something that's going to be uber expensive or, wouldn't be the goal there. So happy to do, whatever you want or whatever is feasible. So.
My concern on that is I'm not against doing it, but I think before we reduce the size of the bed or remove those blocks, bricks, we ought to talk to the boy's family or at least the scout leader.
Please let them know what our intentions are and
Right.
why.
I know I talked to this,
Is,
talked to them before we did the Eagle, let them know. And like I said, once they get done with it, it's ours, but still the memory's there for the.
And I think an alternative would be, we could reuse those in an area. You're basically, it's as of now, it's messy. So I think it's like, you could make an area where you put some, or you create another bed, or we can use that in a different bed. And that could be kind of, that memorial, to the individual. I think that's a better, again, not to speak out of turn, but I think they would, that would be a nicer way to remember them versus let something decay and look disheveled.
the Eagle statue there
Yeah.
is the remembrance of.
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Oh, that's remember to Torrance.
I'd be curious.
Boy, the Eagles in remembrance of the Torrance boy.
Yeah, wasn't he the one that put the bed in?
Susie, wasn't Torrance that put the bed in, was it?
No,
No. Somebody before him.
I don't know that it was
His
remembrance. I
master
thought it was a
plan
Boy
too?
Scout project. It was a total Boy Scout project. It was not in remembrance of anybody.
No, but
No,
why
he was an Eagle
Debbie
Scout.
Young told me that the Eagle Scout that did the project, he later, a few years later, he passed away.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
But probably the original intent was the beautification of the area, right? And
Right.
assuming that this young man, should he be here,
Yeah.
get the recommendation from the professionals that to increase the beautification of the area is now the best opportunity is to remove it, then maybe he would like that anyways.
That's what I said, I'm not saying that they'll be against it, but I think we just ought to let them know what we're doing.
Right. Sure. I think that's fair. Well, my other question, just going back to the other one, before we move any further, I'm not sure about the use. That just doesn't seem like a good idea to me to put new ones in there. I definitely get the removal, but I don't, I wonder about just some rocks or something there. Because the only bad thing is it looks like if they're not there, it's kind of a visual, okay, stop here and don't just drive right into our park.
Mhm.
But
I agree, we're always gonna have the issue of
dogs, yeah.
of the dogs. And, yeah,
Hmm.
so we do need a divider there, and I do like the boulder or the rock idea for that, certainly causing that division there. I don't know if a split rail fence would be appropriate, it's something, we definitely need something there though.
Yeah. Wonder what that would look like.
From a split rail fence or like the boulders, it would be, kind of going back out there and just basically kind of spacing them out in a nice looking or aesthetically pleasing manner.
What about that
Like
same
groupings.
price range there?
Boulders would be more.
Yeah.
So, they would, if you would keep it mulch, there wouldn't be, because if we would go in and switch that over to rock or something as far as that mulch bed, so you would have to, remove all of the existing mulch maybe some soil depending how, raised that bed is, put down kind of landscape fabric, pin that in. Then you would need to then put in your decorative rock, and then likely some kind of edging. Most economical would be like a poly edging or a black, thick plastic edging, and then subsequently be placing your boulders. That area you could do large ones, but usually what we use a lot of are what we call 2 people boulders. So in that kind of 100 to 150, 175 pounds range, and then kind of making kind of groupings of those. And I would loop in a designer, one of our designers, as far as to kind of, make that appealing. So.
And we get a couple new toys for the playground, right? The kids will be showing them.
Yeah. So,
My kid would.
I think if you weren't going to replace them, you probably rip out some of the other stuff, just rip it all out versus kind of leave it,
Hodgepodge.
yeah. Or at least the U's. The viburnums, I believe, down there are pretty big.
They're high. Yeah.
So,
And
But-
there on the west side,
yeah.
there's, on one end, there's 2 U's, and the other end, there's 2 present, but there
Mhm.
was 3. That side, I think the rocks would probably work in there and
Mhm.
do the others.
Yeah, and if you're kind of saying the direction you want to go is, hey, let's think of some kind of, putting boulders some in there, we can work up a design for that. So it's just kind of, without, talking through it or figuring out what the best, mode of action is, I just kind of, sitting still until we can figure that out. So.
I would be curious what that looks like as far as an estimate.
I'm sorry.
What do you think?
I like the idea of the boulders.
Mhm. Yeah, so-
And just redoing the whole thing.
Mhm.
So,
And on the east side, those aren't bad yet. They're
But
starting.
they will be.
They will be, but my other concern, we don't have much money in the budget for this year.
Yeah.
So that could be a next year project.
Yeah, it'd be good to know either way, though. Gonna get a plan together, right?
And we're just getting ready to start the budget season, so either way, getting the estimate so that you know what to put in the budget for next year is a good plan.
It's definitely gonna be an outlay of money on the front end, but with it being a hardscape is just the plant material, the upkeep.
Yeah.
Would be over time would be a
Mm.
better investment.
And on the east side, we could go with split rail fence, because that's a longer area.
Okay. Well,
Gives me something to think about. So
yeah,
if there's any, have any more questions, happy to take them. I can, leave my cards, or I think I have some emails in here, so, or contact info. So, all right, anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
guys.
Appreciate it.
That's helpful, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay. Website. All right. Do we have any updates on the website, Kelly?
Well, I have some like chicken scratch
Okay.
on what's there, what I'm gonna change. I
Yeah.
think one thing I need is just some like clarification of, are we just cleaning up what we have? Or is there an overarching idea that the website's gonna be revamped, or are we just cleaning up what's presently there? I guess is the big question.
Any of the existing content that you would like changed, please feel free to edit,
Okay.
revise, however you would like to say that. If there are specific pages that you would like to see added to the parks items, be happy to sit down and talk to you or kind of go over, and we can kind of sketch out how we want those new links to happen and what that content needs to be. I don't know that right now we're doing a total revamp of the website, but we can certainly revise and kind of beef up the parks section.
Okay, I think one of the things that, and I talked a little bit the 2 meetings ago, is just so much information on one page, and that's not really how people use the information. So I think adding pages like having a list of our parks and maybe a picture of the park, and you click on the picture and it goes to the amenities, making those instead of total paragraph. I like the paragraph explaining the history of the park. I think that's nice. But the amenities, I think, should just be bulleted lists, and if something in there needs to be linked off of, that makes it easier. And then, so I guess my suggestion would be to create more of those pages, just so that, especially if people are trying to look at it on their phones or whatever, but even on the computer, once you get past the cut line, people miss stuff or you don't see it. So I think that would make it a little more interactive, the way people consume it. And then there's a few like editorial things. So is it a good time, like, just maybe to make an appointment to kind of like sit down and just kind of walk through? And like I said, I have some chicken scratch on notes on the pages, but that doesn't mean you understand what I'm saying. And then the other thing I thought, and again, whether it's this year or if it is a budget item or whatever, it's just that the pictures that we have are not very good. They're, far away, or I think there was a celebration and it's people's backsides, which is fine. But I just think that we could, that newer pictures might be nice. And I don't know if, there's budget to hire someone to do that, or see if someone can do some pro bono work or something like that to maybe just jazz up and bring it more up to date and more inviting, because your parks is, you want people to come out, right? So we have pictures that doesn't highlight it in their thumbnails, as opposed to being able to flesh out a new page for each park, I think might be a good idea. So I know someone who lives in Margarettsville whose family's around here. She does do photography work. That could be a conflict of interest, I don't know, but whether it's her or we open up a group or a process for that, there could be some room for it to be a very low budget item, or maybe even value in kind with props, pictures, photos courtesy of whatever. I don't know what that might look like. So again, I think it could be done rather inexpensively to get pictures. But I think professionally done pictures, if you're gonna do it, you might as well, in my opinion, get someone that's gonna take pictures that look nice. You see like houses for sale, and some of them look really nice and some of them look like you see the corner of the room, right? Like professionals do that and lend itself to that. And I think this is important enough if it's a face of our town and our organization to do something like that. That's just my opinion.
Cool. But, I think just cleaning it up is awesome, and I think learning capabilities is a great idea.
Okay.
How we can make it easier, not rather than, hey, can you update our website?
Right. Okay.
Good.
So I'll just reach out and maybe see if we can get a time together.
We'll coordinate with something will be coming.
Okay. Great.
I'd be glad to jump into if you want another opinion on that also.
And I think we can mock up some different things too. It's kind of nice to be able to see that. Those are just some basic things that I thought might be helpful.
All right. Founders Fountain, okay. Do we have an update on the poll?
I do have an update on the poll. The winner of the poll seems to be Legacy Plaza. And the second choice was Legacy Commons.
Was it an overwhelming response?
So we had 30 responses. And Legacy Plaza had 46.7%. Legacy Commons had 40%.
Ooh, very close. I would consider that to be not a runaway, but
The longer choices were definitely not popular.
fair.
Less is more, right?
Yes, I think that was the lesson.
Nice. So is that was that an expected response based on the polls we've put out in the past? Like 30, is that Varies.
It varies.
I'm not sure that's enough to really,
Where was it? Because I was all over the Bargersville town page, and I'm on the Facebook page. I didn't even see it.
I know she posted it to Facebook and it was pinned to the top, so it should have been
Okay.
one of the top posts that you saw.
And that's where
And I don't know if it's still posted or not, but that's where it was.
Got
I
it.
don't think it's pinned anymore.
It was on the page this afternoon.
Okay.
That's where I saw it.
Thank you.
and it's been up in, well, more than a month now, right?
It's been up for a couple of weeks, I
A
think.
couple weeks. Okay.
Did we do anything like at the farmer's market to kind of promote it or anything? I just wonder how many, we could make the decision, I don't know, that's fine, I just think people knowing about it or seeing it.
I also wonder that now that we're it seems like if we've narrowed it down to 2, I wonder if town council would want 2 to pick. I mean, like, would that be a good, this be a good opportunity to kind of kick it back to them, and since we've narrowed it down to 2? I don't know, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. We do have a council member back here.
I didn't say anything, Susie.
Try.
Well, it doesn't exactly feel overwhelmingly confident there, right?
If you guys are intent on changing the name, then there's a
I think we decided that before we can kind of move on with next steps, that was kind of that first. It would make it significantly more successful for us to kind of relaunch and reinvigorate the search for community support behind the area if it had a name that represented the area. So we were kind of just hung up on that.
I think that's perfect timing then. That's the way you guys feel about it.
Good enough?
Yes.
All right, so we'll take it back. Can we get on the agenda at some point for that?
So the choices are gonna be June 29th at 1 o'clock or July 13th at 7 o'clock. And we can add you to either agenda. I don't know what your schedules are, what works better for you.
I will actually be out of town for both of those, but so that's not helpful.
Rhonda flew solo last time, so.
Maybe Rhonda, I
She did a
don't know.
fine job.
Great. I can take off work and be here on June 29th at 1. That's all right. What will we do? I don't know what, but I'll keep tabs on it.
Something, all right. Put it on my tab.
Yeah. So June 29th at 1, correct?
Correct.
All right.
Okay. Moving on. So the park impact fee study, so we did meet, oh boy, that's probably been a month ago now as well. And sounds like Julie has an update for us on where we're at with the impact fee.
Kind of update you guys on where we are and where we're going on those projects. So, making progress. So if you recall, we interviewed consultants and we have selected Layman to do both of these projects. So the park impact fee study, we will be forming a advisory committee that will have some builders, real estate folks. By statute, we have to have those folks on there. We also would welcome Parks Board participation so that you all are involved and know what's going on with that project. So we will be kicking off on July 1st to kind of, for staff to meet with the consultant and kind of figure out where we're going and who needs to be on all these committees and what data they need. We're already starting to pull data for them so we can run on these projects. And then on the park master plan, that will be a little bit different of an advisory committee. That will be Parks Board members, council members, because we're really kind of planning what the future of our park system is going to be. Two plans, same time, a little bit different focus. So if there are members that are interested, we would love to have you participate. Our challenge is if we have 3, we'll advertise it as an official meeting. So what we need, two is easier, but we can make 3 work. We'll follow the open door rules. And our impact fee will need to be adopted by the end of the year so that it can, we can continue having that revenue stream for our park projects. Master plan doesn't have the same tight schedule, but I'd still like to get that adopted so we can have that plan and keep moving on projects.
So then, should we just email Bethany if we're interested, or?
You can, or you guys can decide amongst yourself if you want to kind of appoint people to serve on different committees like that. However you'd like to work that out. The impact fee committee will probably have probably 3 meetings roughly. The parks, the master plan may have 3 to 4.
And the impact, so these are typically to be done by the end of the year, is that right? Or when you say 3 meetings, is that 3 meetings a month?
Total.
Period.
So on the impact fee, we will basically review what we have in our system and basically set the level of service that we would like to have for our residents in our community. So that's however many acres of park and, different types of features. And then the consultant runs through the calculations based on our future growth. And then we get a big calculation that tells us, okay, if we want level of service this, then that means we're going to need so many acres of parkland in the next 10 years, or so many miles of trails, or if we decide we want to do baseball diamonds or soccer fields or something like that, whatever that would translate to. And then we back into what does that equal for a fee based on what that level of service and what that need is. That's the
opportunity.
really high
I
level.
was super excited. I'm ready to volunteer right now, Julia. Great speech on the impact fee there.